The following is paid for by Tim Lampert for Sheriff, Tim Lampert Treasurer. The views expressed are not those of WBDC or WJTS TV or its advertisers, and this is not an endorsement.
Keeping you informed. This is In.form on WBDC and 18 WJTS.
Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to 101 Country, WBDC, and 18 WJTS. This is the In.form program on WBDC and WJTS. Thank you for joining us. We are here with Tim Lampert. Tim Lampert is running for sheriff of Dubois County. And Tim, welcome to the studios of WBDC and WJTS. We're glad to have you here this morning.
Good morning. I'm happy to be here, Mr. Potter.
All right. Tim, let's start off. The best way for people to know, who is Tim Lampert and why did you decide to run for Dubois County Sheriff?
Okay, I'm born and raised right here in Dubois County. I'm the son of Dennis and the late Linda Raker Lampert of Jasper. Large family. There's 9 kids in our family, which kind of helped shape who I am today. I married Jennifer Schwenk from Ireland. We're going on 25 years of marriage. We have two boys that are in college right now, and we have a daughter that is a sophomore in high school. And the different age things like that really helps me take a good look at the way the world is and things like that. Growing up, my parents have a small business, Denny's Auto. We also have a small farm. Kind of developed a lot of good work ethics and common sense through the farm and the business and stuff like that. Also help with being financially responsible for money. When you own your own you're involved in a small business, you have to be value the dollar and things like that because you got a lot of bills to pay and stuff like that. But it's really shaped who I am, and I think a lot of that experience will make me a good sheriff.
So you're hoping to carry that then? You're going to carry that into being the sheriff of Dubois County.
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay.
sir. It also helped with time management and things like that. And while I was working at the shop, I put me through college. So a lot of time management there and common sense. And I tend to be for criminal justice. So it kind of helped shape who I am today.
Doing some of that hands-on work can really help shape who you are.
It can. Working on cars and some, with the farm and things like that, doing hay and stuff like that, it brings a lot of common sense to the plate.
Now, you've been in law enforcement for about 35 years, or over 35 years. How has that shaped your leadership?
Well, the different roles I've held in my 35 years at the Sheriff's Department, I think, helps with my leadership skills. Whether it's starting out in the jail in 1990, kind of learn that system. You kind of learn the criminal justice system from the inside out, if that makes any sense. You get to see the charges filed. You get to work with a lot of individuals that are struggling and things like that that are incarcerated. So it kind of shapes, gives you a different mindset of some of the individuals that are incarcerated, whether it's addiction, substance abuse, and things like that. Then in 1994, I was promoted to a deputy sheriff, graduated with honors at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. Learned real quick when you're covering Dubois County, a large county like it is, and you're the only unit on, you develop a lot of skills there that carry over to your leadership roles. You kind of determine which calls are the serious calls, and you have to make sure you pick and choose which ones you have to respond to first to save lives and things like that. I'm also a firearms instructor. I've instructed firearms for over 20 years now, instructing some of the local officers, instructed new recruits at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy as well. So some of those skills the training carry over to being the sheriff at the Sheriff's Department. I also was a member of the emergency response team with the Sheriff's Department. It was a multi-jurisdictional team throughout Dubois County. And I kind of worked my way up through being the team leader. The team leader consisted of a lot of training that I conducted, whether it was practicing making entries. We had different CNCS gas training and different things that we did on a normal daily basis. The reason for the emergency response team was we'd make tactical entries depending on the situation to help save lives. So there's a number of different things there I've done over my career, as the deputies, being a deputy, and then moving into the chief deputy role in 2011, helped. Again, I was a critical, kind of overseeing the critical operations of the jail and the deputies and the sheriff's department, things like that. Whether it was coming in at 5 o'clock in the morning during the week to help to make sure the night shift guys would go home around 6 o'clock because they have family, and it's important that in law enforcement you get a good proper amount of rest. So I would come in, help. If nothing was going on the road, I would come in and help in the jail, whether it's serving breakfast, help the jail staff out, especially when they're shorthanded. I think it's very important that a good leader steps up to help everyone out, whether you're shorthanded or not, and help, just help them get through the day and know that you're there side by side with them, and you wouldn't expect them to do anything you wouldn't do yourself. So, but yeah, for a number of years, I was a chief deputy. Received grant money to help cut down on taxpayer money, whether it was extra patrol for officers to keep the community safe. Went through a number of audits, and that's part of the Sheriff's Department, whether it's State Board of Accounts coming in. I also oversaw the IDACS and NCIC, which is a database that we can run like driver's checks and put stolen property. So if a piece of property is stolen from Dubois County and it was recovered in Crawford County or California or wherever, it will pull up in that database that it's stolen from this, and that's part of the Indiana and the National Crime Information Center. With those, you went through annual audits, state and federal audits, and we didn't have any problems passing those. And that, again, kind of shows the type of leader I am. I want to make sure everything is done properly and help each other out. So
You really have pretty well done everything in the Dubois County Sheriff's office.
I have, as a chief deputy, I was also on the 911 advisory board. So when someone calls 911, they're going to talk to someone and they're going to try and help them. I can't say enough for our 911 operators out there and their department head. They do a great job to make sure this community is safe. And that's what it's all about. At the end of the day, it is about keeping this community safe. I feel we live in a community that's second to none, and I want to make sure it stays that way. So I was also, when I was a chief deputy, I was involved in a local emergency planning committee. There, what we would do is we kind of come up with different plannings and trainings for community-wide, like first responders, fire department, law enforcement, EMS, and different things like that. Some of them that kind of stick out was we had a kind of a chemical spill issue release at a business, and then we also had one that we had an accident that involved some kind of chemicals. And we kind of teach and go over responses for emergency responders because we want to make sure they're going to be safe. And so they can respond appropriately and help save lives. So that was kind of some of the other things I've done over my career. Even with moving forward, I am currently one of the school resource officers here in the county under the Sheriff's Department, which is a valuable role. One, I think, we got to take care of our youth. We got to help our youth out. We have to keep them safe because that's our future. Whether it's talking to them and doing presentations about drugs and alcohol, online safety is a big one right now. We have to keep our kids safe. It's difference between, our kids fear more a social letdown than anything else. And if they post something on a social media site, chat site, and the popular kid in the group doesn't respond to it right away, it kind of can send them in a spiraling downward way. But, between our school staff and the SROs and everybody working together to kind of make sure they are safe and to make sure this is a great community that it is, that is a great place where you can affect a lot of people, and it made me a better officer dealing with some of these kids. And, the approach I like to take with our students and kids, they're looking at things through a child's eyes, where adults try and look at things through adult eyes, and they're looking at things through a child eyes. And sometimes it's hard to put yourself in their shoes, especially, when I was growing up, we didn't have the social media, the smartphones and things like that. We had, it was just a different world. and we're trying to keep them safe because, when we were kids, it was about stranger danger. Now it's trying to keep them safe online if, different individuals were reaching out to them and again, trying to make them safe, whether it's, like sexting and different things like that. But online safety is very important to us. And I think the primary job of SROs is probably school safety, making sure our kids are safe. I'm an Ellis instructor, which stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuation. So I train the staff, the students, all the county employees have been through one form or another of whether it's either a classroom or an actual training event, which that's something we do. I've also trained a number of our officers, brought them up to the schools. One, they get familiar with their school system, so if they have to respond, they're familiar with the layout of the schools. Plus, it gives them a real sense of if something ever happens, how to respond. So I think it's very important for stuff like that. So yeah, just a number of different things that kind of done over my career. I've also had a number of different mock accidents at the school. Kind of teach our kids that, drive responsible, be safe. It also helps with the first responders and the fire departments, and we've had EMTs up there, conservation officers, you name it, different agencies up there to help out, whether it's ATV accident, a vehicle accident, to help teach the kids that helmet safety, drive appropriate, reduce speed, and things like that are very important. And then we would have a group of individuals going to the gym after the scenario. And they talk about whether it's juvenile probation, the judge would be there, conservation officers, and again, just trying to give these kids as much information we can to keep them safe. So I think it's very important to do things like that. So I also teach a criminal justice class. I'm a career tech education teacher with a license through the Indiana Department of Correction, the Indiana Department of Education. It's kind of neat to kind of talk and teach the students of the criminal justice system when there's so many jobs out there. Again, if they want to go to law school and become a judge or prosecutor, if they want to get into probation, community corrections has a number of different programs, and the jail, the sheriff's department, whether it's law enforcement, because we need great employees and good candidates. Because over the years, it seemed like our application process has kind of dwindled a little bit, and we want to make sure we get the good applicants because this community means a lot to me. So born and raised right here in Dubois County, I think it's a great community. I want to make sure it's a community we're going to keep that way. My goal is, to keep. I want my kids and my grandkids to move back here and to be proud to call Dubois County their home.
Now, you've worn a lot. Well, you've worn one hat, which is the law enforcement officer, but you've worn it a lot of different ways. Will that lead into leadership for the Dubois County Sheriff's Department? Should you be elected?
Absolutely. Again, just the number of different things I've done over my career help shape who I am as a leader. I think honesty is a big thing. You got to be honest with your people. You have to treat them the way you want to be treated, and know that you have their back and you're willing to work side by side. And I think I've shown that over the years, where if I'd come in at 5 o'clock in the morning, again, to make sure the deputies got a chance to go home and see their families. I think training is a big key, being a training officer. I think it's very important that we train our officers to make sure that when they're responding to calls, they're safety-minded. I want to make sure they're going to go home to their families. I also feel we have to be financially responsible and make sure we give them the resources to do their job appropriately. I think that's key. You have to give them resources. When I was a deputy, it was a lot of times I was responding to calls from Holland to Hillham because I was the only one on, and I don't want anybody to have to go through that, because when I got into law enforcement, I wanted to help people. And at times when you're running call to call, it was kind of difficult to do that. And I learned real quick that a lot of times you put in hours outside of your time frame, and that's part of it, whether it's a small business, growing up, farming, it's just not a 9-to-5 job. It's, I feel that it's very important that you want to make this place better than what you found it.
Well, I think you touched on something really important about police officers in general. They really take that job because they just want to serve others and make things a better place.
Yeah, they want to, and that's the mindset I take. I got in law enforcement because I want to help people, and I want to help people more now than I ever have before. And my different roles that I've had over the years at the Sheriff's Department, and now as the school resource officer, that's our future. Those kids are our future, and I want to make sure they can be the next leaders. And I think it's important for us to address it that way.
Okay, we are talking with Tim Lampert, who is running for Dubois County Sheriff in the primary election coming up at the beginning of May. We're going to listen to a song Tim has picked out, and then we'll come back and talk more with Tim Lampert for Dubois County Sheriff. This is WBDC and 18 WJTS In.form, and in this segment, we are talking with Tim Lampert, who is running for Dubois County Sheriff. Now, coming up, is it May 5th? I believe it's May 5th is the election. Okay, you can do early voting now.
Yes.
But it's a primary election, and Tim, some people may go, I don't want to have to go in and declare to be either a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. I just want to go in and vote. Well, that's not kind of what the purpose of a primary. What do you say to people who say, I don't want to change my party to vote?
Right. So in the primary, if you want to say in the sheriff's election, just pull the Republican ballot. That does not change your candidacy registration, things like that. But if you want to say in the the primary as far as the sheriff's election, you'll have to pick the Republican ballot and pick the person that you feel is the best choice for the sheriff's position, which is a very critical. It's a leader of the county. It's a leader of the sheriff's department, which consists of the jail, the deputies. It also has a big play in, again, the criminal justice system. So the sheriff's department kind of started out as keeper of the courts and the jail. That was our kind of primary job, and it's a very important job. One, we want to keep the community safe, so therefore that kind of falls under the jail part of it. What I've seen over the years working in the jail for a number of years is addiction. When you probably have 45% of the inmates population in our security center are drug or alcohol related charges. However, probably 80% or so have some kind of drug or alcohol issues or addiction and things like that. First of all, I think they need to be accountable for their actions. It's just like our kids. We can't just let our kids do whatever they want to. They need to be punished so they learn their lesson and they don't do it again. So I think it is important to hold them accountable. But I also have firsthand experience, and so when I was a jail officer, what tolls it takes on the individual and their families, addiction does, and it becomes controlling to them, where their mind and body says, I have to have it, I have to have it, I have to have it. And I think the accountability part is very important. I also believe that there's different programs out there to help these individuals to get better, reduce, and so they're not addicted to the substances, because the substances are increasing. I always use the example when I talk to the kids at school, where I look at the farmers, 20 years ago, maybe they had 150 bushel an acre. Look now, they're looking at 300 bushel. The marijuana and different drugs have been genetically improved, so the addiction is higher. So I think it's very important that we give the resources to the individuals through programming and things like that to make them better. Because big thing, if we can cut down or reduce the repeat offenders, it's going to help save taxpayer money, and we can put that money towards other things that we need, or simply back in the taxpayer's pocket. So I think it's very important. That's part of the sheriff's department. And then the courts is another part of it. We provide security at the courthouse. And that was part of, I've taught with the Alice training, all the county employees, we would have a kind of a classroom, and then we would go into an exercise at the courthouse just to keep them safe. And I think that's important in this day and age with the active shooters and critical incidences. We try and do what we can to keep everybody safe.
I think sometimes we don't realize how much the Dubois County Sheriff's Department does, because that is a new thing at the courthouse. If you go in to pay your taxes, you are going to have to go through a checkpoint.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's a sheriff's. It's a deputy that's sitting there.
Yeah, it's court security. We have a number of them up there, and again, we want to make sure they're safe too. You see the news clips all the time where a critical incident or some kind of incident happens. and we want to make sure that we can train. We want to keep everyone safe. Whether it's our school kids or county employees, and the nice thing about this Ellis training, it can be carried over anywhere, whether it's, if you're at a restaurant, some different things can apply. So it's important that we try and get that training out there, and including our deputies also, so we can get those trained and know how to respond if something like this happens, so they know what the people or the public are going to do.
Now, here in the primary, you were running against other opponents, and in the general election, you again would run against other opponents. What makes you different or more qualified, maybe, than the other candidates?
I think in my 35 years and the different roles I've taken in the different groups, whether it's, I've been a member of the Substance Abuse Council, law enforcement representative, the CARES, goes on and on and on. I've been part of, my 35 years, I've been protecting my community, and the experience I have, the leadership roles I've held, and all of my, like I said, the training and things like that I've conducted over the years, whether it's at the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy, the audits, and just my vast experience with the Sheriff's Department. I think I'm the best qualified candidate to do that because of I'm proven leadership, and I think it's important.
Yeah. What are some things maybe in the Sheriff's Department that might change or might stay the same that you feel are working or not working?
Yeah, and I'm a believer. I'm a trainer. I'm a instructor generalist. I'm a firearms instructor. I think it's very important that we train our officers and give them the tools to do their job. I want to make sure they're safe. I want to make sure that keeps our community safe, and I want to make sure when they're responding to some of these calls are pretty graphic and things like that. And I'm a critical incident stress debriefing officer, so when our officers are first responders, EMTs, even our dispatchers, when they're taking some of these calls that most individuals never see, hear, and things like that, it's very important that we have debriefings to help our officers out and not only our officers but first responders, to make sure that they can continue doing their job, because let's look, most people, like I said, get into EMT, first responder, 911, fire department, stuff like that. They want to help people, and I want to make sure that they have the tools, and when they go through a critical incident, that we can sit down and help them out, and their family also, because it's important. Some of the roles they play and some of the calls they have to respond to can be difficult for anyone, and I want to make sure that they can continue doing what they love.
Well, I have the utmost respect for any police officer and the work that they do. That really is a tough job to be right at that last second. You got to make decisions that are really life or death.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that coming from you, Mr. Powder. I've had a judge before tell us, law enforcement says, I respect what you guys do. You're making split-second decisions, and if I don't want to rule on something, I'll sleep on it. And a lot of times we can't do that. So it is, and I want to make sure that our officers are trained the best possible way, so when they respond, when they're making great decisions, because I want to make sure they're going home to their families. I think that's very important, because with the community we have, it's a close-knit community. I think everybody's in it together. Everybody wants to continue making this place a place where we can call home. We want our kids and our grandkids to come back here or stay here, live here, and because it's a great place.
All right, Tim Lampert, running for Dubois County Sheriff. One last question. What does Dubois County mean to you personally?
It's a place I call home. I mean, plain and simple. It's a great community. It's a place my parents have called home, and I want to make sure that people come here to Dubois County and they're proud of being in Dubois County, whether it's my family, my friends, or the community, because it is. And I want to make sure that it stays that way, where we can, again, call this place a great place to call home.
All right, Tim Lampert, it's been a pleasure conversing with you this morning on WBDC and WJTS TV. Tim Lampert running for Dubois County Sheriff, May 5th. You can vote now or you can vote on Election Day. And Tim, you're on the Republican ballot, but that doesn't mean that you're changing your party affiliation. You can simply vote Republican this time and vote whoever you want when the general election comes around.
Yes, that is correct. Just in the primary, if you want to stay in the sheriff's race, just pull a Republican candidate ballot, and then doesn't change your party registration, and you can again in the fall you kind of you don't have to declare a candidacy or a party at that time.
And voting is easy in Dubois County.
It is very easy. There's a number of places, early voting here in Dubois County, and then obviously there's 9 locations on May 5th, the primary election day.
All right, Tim Lampert, thank you very much for talking with us on 18 WJTS and WBDC. Tim Lampert running for Dubois County Sheriff. The preceding was paid for by Lampert for Sheriff Committee, Tim Lampert Treasurer. The views expressed are not necessarily those of WBDC or WJTS or its advertisers, and this is not an endorsement. Tim, thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Mr. Powder.
This has been In.form on WBDC and 18 WJTS. Catch past episodes on our social media pages and our websites. If it matters to you, it matters to us. In.form.